First of all, thank you so much for having us here. Constantin and me are here from the Peace Research Institute in Frankfurt, from the Radigame project, as Raj already mentioned. Our presentation is called Streaming, Chatting, Modding, the Use of Gaming, Adjacent Communication, and Platforms by Extremist Actors. Well, I'm just going to get right into the slides because quite a limited amount of time for a lot of research findings. First of all, I'm going to present the Radigame. Oh yeah, thank you. The Radigame Consortium, which consists of 8 research, civic, education, and law enforcement authorities. The starting point for this project has been the raised and greater public awareness for radicalization processes in gaming spheres through the anti-Semitic and anti-Muslim terror attacks of Halle and Christchurch 2019. Both use gaming aesthetics, both attackers use gaming aesthetics, and both use jambots to spread messages. The Halle attacker used gaming cultural references, such as achievements in his manifesto. Well then, between 2019 and 2023, there were a few researchers who addressed these topics, but to be honest, in German-speaking countries, there were just a very few researchers. And then the Radigame project appeared in 2023. Our focus is on communication by radicalized users and users at risk of radicalization on gaming adjacent platforms. We had several key questions, and we do have several key questions. First of all, we had concerns about the ethical framework, then data protection, then we had to sort out the most relevant platforms, the types of content we are going to find, and of course, challenges for researchers. Now we are in this phase of searching for modes of interactions. How do radicalized users interact with each other and also with not radicalized people? And the identification of users who may be at risk of radicalization. And of course, there's an approach to map the existing PCVE measures in the gaming sphere and also future opportunities, which are quite a lot. And yeah, the umbrella of knowledge transfer is always in every phase of the research there, and also we are looking for multi-stakeholder cooperations. So our first step was this exploration. The focus in this presentation is not going to be the exploration. The focus is going to be a deeper dive into a modification platform. But just to clarify the whole process, I'm going to show you some of the findings we had in our first step of research. Well, due to the scarcity of research on individual platforms, our first step was to work our way through a large pool of platforms, all of which were related to gaming. And due to the sheer quantity and the different functions that the platforms have, we selected 20 platforms and divided them into subcategories according to functionality. We separated them into communication platforms, game and modification platforms, video and streaming platforms, and we did a little excursion into virtual reality. So, first of all, I'm going to present some findings of streaming platforms, video and streaming platforms. We had about 8 of the 20 platforms classified as streaming and video platforms. We had Twitch and DLive and Kick. Twitch is the original platform related to gaming. I think a lot of you know Twitch. It's the biggest and maybe the most popular platform in the gaming sector. And then there are these alternative platforms. DLive, for example, is more a fringe platform than an alternative platform, but Kick definitely is an alternative platform for that, for Twitch. And of course, you all know YouTube, that's a video platform, and there are those 2 alternative platforms, also kind of fringe platforms, Rumble and BitChute, and TikTok and OnlyFans. Yeah, those were the video and streaming platforms we explored. Yeah, I'm just going to show you the findings of Twitch, because, yeah, limited amount of time, but I think they do show, even at a moderated platform like Twitch, there are radicalized users, there are radicalized streamers. Well, the key facts, the foundation was in 2011, the takeover by Amazon 2014, In January 2024, it had like 7 million streamers, 140 million active users on a monthly basis, so it's huge. Yes, sorry. This is a trigger warning right before that, what I just presented, because now we are going to show you some findings. Well, that was just the slide I presented. And now the findings. Well, what did we find? In this case, we mostly focused on German-speaking right-wing influencers because there were plenty of them on the platform and we are a German-funded project. There are some streamers who used AfD rhetoric. We found a lot of anti-Muslim content, both from streamers and from the followers. It is also interesting to note that the radicalism of the streamer statements has increased in the comment columns. Well, deeply racist demonizations of black people, Muslims, and so-called immigrants, whereby immigrants just meant anything that does not appear to be that kind of bio-German approach. And well, we were also able to establish that the far-right game Great Rebellion was advertised and played by the cult games associated with the identitarian movement. There was a big cross-promotion by right-wing extremist streamers who included already banned streamers in their live streams, so that's how they avoided the ban the platforms already did. And there are kind of, there are some Salafi groups which were on the platform, but that were mostly quietist Salafist, and it was not. It was about halal gaming and how can I combine my religion with gaming. Now I'm going to hand over to Constantin. He's going to show you the findings of the communication platforms.
Yeah, thanks. As you can already see at this point, material from radicalized actors can be found on a wide variety of platforms. However, this does not mean that they are all equally relevant to us. In addition to streaming platforms, this also applies to communication platforms in the gaming sphere. The communication platforms we've looked at are Discord, Guilded, Gametree, Reddit, and the Gamer Uprising forums. And even if these are all communication platforms, as I said, they are sometimes very different in the way they work. Discord and Guilded are chat platforms on which users operate more or less closed servers. Gametree is a platform that serves to find players of similar interests. Reddit is a news aggregator, and the Gamer Uprising forums have a classic forum structure. On Reddit, where there are almost 2 billion views per month, we found a lot of anti-Semitic, Islamist, neo-Nazi content. Some of the material is also very extreme, such as videos and images of violence, torture, killings. Nevertheless, it has to be said that the majority of notable posts on Reddit do not take place in gaming areas, presumably because users can easily switch to other areas that are specially designed for extreme material. The Gamer Uprising forums, on the other hand, are different. The platform is directly targeting right-wing gamers. Most users stand out there for their strong anti-Semitic references. These 3 images, for example, are taken from a thread in which anti-Semitic AI-generated art is collected. There are several thousand of pictures of this kind. This is, of course, a highly radicalized community, but we are more interested in platforms that target a broader audience. Discord, for example, is extremely popular among gamers, and the self-managed servers also enable radicalized groups to get together. Here, for example, you can see a few servers with right-wing backgrounds where the names and pictures already give a first impression of what to expect. The corresponding content can also be found on these servers, like matching names, images, videos, text, GIFs, but real networking also takes place there. In addition, we also looked at gaming and mod platforms. These were Steam, IndieDB, itch.io, GameBanana, ModDB, and Roblox. Here again, the platforms differ strongly. Steam is primarily a distribution platform for digital games. IndieDB and itch.io are platforms for the presentation of games from independent small developer teams, which are made available there for commenting and downloading. GameBanana and ModDB are both so-called modding platforms where users upload modifications for existing games. And Roblox is a platform on which games can be created in a quite simple way, which can then be played together with others. All of these platforms also have communication functions, their own customized profiles, and so on. Roblox has been repeatedly covered and criticized by the media in recent months, and that's not without good reason. On the one hand, the platform targets very young users, as Suraj stated before. About 60% of users are under 16 years old. Around 21% are under the age of 9. On the other hand, the platform is repeatedly used to create radical content, including some that refer positively to National Socialist Germany or Islamist groups. However, one of the first platforms you probably think of when it comes to digital games is Steam. It's by far the largest distribution platform for games on PC and is used by many users as a social network. Accordingly, there is a frequently used group function there. Here on the left, for example, is a group named after the SA bases in Nazi Germany, and next to it, one based on the conspiracy myth of Zionist occupation government, which calls for the murder of Jews. But what we want to talk about in more detail instead are platforms that are explicitly dedicated to uploading your own game content. ModDB, for example, offers many possibilities to customize their own profile. Here is an example of what this can look like. The user has added Nazi aesthetics to his profile here. He also written corresponding blog posts and added a right-wing slogan into his profiles and some more details. What we have noticed, especially during our exploration of ModDB, is that there's almost no research on modding platforms. And this despite the fact that modding is a highly relevant part of gaming culture. And as we realized, modding platforms can be unnoticed places for radicalized actors with an obvious low level of moderation. So what did we do? We took a deeper dive into analyzing content on ModDB. We analyzed a baseline of 2,000 posts from the most frequently used areas of the platform to get an impression of the normal communication there. And we analyzed 500 posts with explicitly extremist content, which we identified through keyword searches, where we sought to cover several types of ideological content. And we have observed a number of phenomena that we would now like to look in more detail.
Exactly. Yeah, first of all, as Constantin already mentioned, the platform is nearly unmoderated, which leads to the fact that the user can do almost everything they want to do and write and post, and they can say everything they want to say. That's why we are going to show you some very explicit content now. I will start with the Nazi glorification, right-wing extremism stuff. There's a lot of expression through modification. There's also a lot of expression through name givings, then through profile aesthetics, and also affirmation to second war related things. 157 posts were coded as far-right extremism, 47 as borderline content, and of these, 63 posts include a glorification of National Socialism, 49 as post-nationalism, and 28 advocated for ethno-pluralism. Oh, yeah. Yeah, perfect. Well, I'm just going to explain what we can see, because those are really the typical things we could see in this phenomena. On the left side, we have got the glorification of Hitler and Third Reich, and in the middle, you can see a picture of historical revisionism. In here, there's also like a statement underneath, and it says Nazis are presented as the good guys. Conventional historical scholarship is defined as propaganda. There's also a lot of name dropping of Nazi cadres and the use of those names as profiles, and yeah, there's kind of swastika aesthetic there. A lot of profiles are having a lot of swastikas. Then there are like the new rhetorics, all conspiracy theories, and also cultural battle things. The conspiracy theory of the white genocide is widespread on the platform. On the right side, you can see Stellaris modification. Stellaris is a strategic game, and well, in here the user stated that white man, especially white man, people, threatened to get extincted, and that's why they used phenotypes of European people in this game. So, yeah, that's the ethno-pluralist approach there. And then we found purely racist stuff, like KKK mods and yeah, people fantasizing, killing minorities, and yeah. So that's the right-wing extremism. That's where the right-wing extremism findings. Now I'm going to switch over to Islamism. About 70 posts were connected to Islamism, 21 as Salafist and 38 as jihadist. There's been a wide range from non-violent Salafist educational groups to Shiite Islamist terror support, and also support of the Islamic State propaganda and self-proclaimed foreign fighters. A lot of the Islamism findings we have are connected to the Israel-Palestine conflict. And when I say Israel-Palestine conflict, I don't mean the Gaza war, because the findings we had are sometimes quite old. So, yeah, that's the first slide of the Islamist findings. We found a wide range of extremist influences here. Among other things, we found propaganda trials of the so-called Islamic State, as well as the martyr worship of fallen ISIS fighters. We also found a profile that stated that the user had traveled to Syria and joined ISIS. However, we couldn't verify this. But yeah, comments were also found that supported armed jihad against Western forces and regarded this as an obligation for Muslims. We also found specific calls for terrorist attacks that were discussed in groups. That was also a very widespread phenomenon we found, the axis of resistance. You can see at the left side now that Hassan Nasrallah, and yeah, it's just an anti-Western thing there. Anti-Western forces, well, with the core of leading power Iran, Hezbollah, and the Houthi Shiite forces from Iraq and Hamas and other Palestinian splinter groups. We found that there was hero worship, particular of the now dead leader of the terrorist group Hezbollah, who was repeatedly glorified with religious connotations. We also found, we also discovered replicas of Hezbollah weaponry systems, and well, yeah, what was striking about the platform was that the image of Israel as the enemy, and Jewish people in particular, took on a special relevance in arguments and calls for violence. And now I'm going to hand over to Constantin.
Yeah, thank you. In the course of data collection, anti-Semitism emerged as a central cross-cutting phenomenon. 71% of the posts were classified as anti-Semitic. These were found across different ideologies and included stereotyping, Holocaust denial, Israel-related anti-Semitism, and posts related to Hamas attacks on 10/7. We found several mods openly advertising classical anti-Semitic stereotypes. For example, this preview image of a mod called the Jewish Snitch for the first-person shooter Stalker, including approving comments such as "make his nose bigger" or "does he steal your money" and so on. There are also much more extreme mods about killing of Jews. The site also offers group function, jokes and memes are also shared in these groups. For example, we see an Anne Frank concentration camp joke, including an amused comment section. This is also an example of post-Shoah anti-Semitism, which often appears in the form of Holocaust denial or the accusation that Jews would profit from the Shoah. Unsurprisingly, Israel plays a central role in anti-Semitic content on ModDB. It's by far the most widespread form of anti-Semitism today, which is also reflected on ModDB. Almost 67% of anti-Semitic posts and 48% of the posts overall were Israel-related. As can be seen in these examples, there are often references to classic anti-Semitic dehumanizing narratives, but also the glorification of anti-Semitic terrorist groups or comparison of Israel with National Socialism. We also found users mixing anti-Semitic sentiments with other issues. In this image, for example, the religious demonization of Jews blurs with the anti-Semitic and anti-communist narrative of the idea of Jewish Bolshevism, which accuses Jews of leading a communist conspiracy to harm either the West or right-wing nationalists. And this is where we also clearly enter the realms of mixed ideologies. These phenomena not only take various forms, but also crosses ideological boundaries. This becomes clear, for example, when positive references are made to Hezbollah and the far-right Greek party Golden Dawn at the same time. There are entire groups on the platform that are dominated by such content. In one of these patchwork groups, we also found this image here, suggesting that Jews control just about every group in society these groups of users dislike, and that this is what a world without nationalism would look like. One last thing I would like to point out is the role of language on the platform. There are, of course, many overlaps with general internet communication, but, for example, there is a particular degree of irony on ModDB, which also serves as protection against criticism. We also found ironic mockery that can develop into a kind of role-playing game by adopting a stereotypical Jewish position and the use of Yiddish language. Other roles involve Nazis, for example, through Nazi salutes in German language, even if the user otherwise does not speak German, or adding avatars showing Nazi soldiers and the use of German names or ranks of Nazis as usernames. There's also frequent dog whistling, for example, so-called echoes are repeatedly used to identify Jewish actors or interests. And of course, we also found the use of gaming slang also in real-world context. So what do we do next at RuddyGame? We will publish at least part of our ModDB analysis soon. And we will analyze other platforms, at least Game Banana, Roblox, and Steam. We will carry out interviews with law enforcement and security agencies. And of course, we will work with PCVE actors. And that's it. Thank you very much.